And could I again thank the note takers and the facilitators who've done such a fantastic job over the weekend. So we have a bit of time to continue the conversation about the any other amendment. So is there anyone else who would like to express a view? Charlie. Back into microphone mode, Mary. Great, thank you.
No, Chairman, I would merely say that I think it's very important that in our final report, which will I think be the 8th or 9th, that we would stress the fact to government that there is unfinished business and that this convention was a success. And for my part, I would have formed the view over the past 12 months, and particularly in recent times, that there is a view among the convention members that some form of convention be continued. And I think if that is the view, I think it's important that we would say that. And I feel we should stress unfinished business in very strong terms, and that we would like to continue it. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I'm not sure that it's up to the convention to adjudicate on whether we've been a success or not. You know, I think that's actually for other people to make a judgment on. But, I mean, the issue of that, the reality that there is unfinished business, there's no disputation about that. Any other comments? Yeah, Tom again. Tommy, you were in before on this issue, were you? Okay, so John, you weren't. Could we go to you first? I'll let you in, Tom, in due course, hopefully.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I suppose when you look back as to what way the Assembly has voted in terms of the environment, that it would certainly be topping most secondary lists. We Irish love talking about the weather, and God bless us, all over the world now, they've taken up that part of our national identity. And I think it's with very good reason, because it doesn't appear as if we're coming forward with any constructive inputs into what could be a world tragedy. And I certainly feel that a convention such as this needs to be conducted on that sole point alone, that perhaps the top table would take it into account to put it to the government that it is not alone a national issue, but it is a world issue, and that it definitely needs to be addressed in detail by some authoritative assembly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Did I see a call over here? Oh, Martina, sorry. Very good.
Thank you. Martina O'Connell. I must say this has been a very worthwhile experience for me taking part in this, and I'm sure lots of citizens would agree. But my concern is in relation to the actual constitution, and a lot of the topics that we have discussed over this weekend, I'm not sure of their particular constitutional relevance, and I'm just wondering how we would be perceived outside you know, by the general public as to what we're discussing and its relevance to the Constitution. So I'm just wondering, for the next meeting, could we possibly narrow down our remit a little bit and just make it more constitutionally relevant, if that makes sense? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it does, Martina,
Yeah,
and in fact, I think the situation for the next week will be a very net situation, in that the matter before us will be whether or not to include or not include issues like economic, social and cultural rights in the Constitution, because that would be certainly a material change from the current situation. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yvonne, did you want to speak?
Yes,
yeah.
Yvonne Carney, a citizen. I would like the environment to be discussed, and to get behind all the people that are fighting these windmills. There is one group of them going into the centre of Ireland, and the electricity is going to England. And I would love to know who's behind it. That's coming in from Rush and going right across the country, where I think it should be discussed at the convention. And if there is a a large number of people against it, they should, the fact that it's coming from the convention, it should give heart to the ones that are disagreeing with it. Okay?
Well, okay, but I mean, I don't think a convention can be some kind of an extension of different political interests or interest groups. Ultimately, it has to relate back to the Constitution. And I mean, there is a quite real issue, which was raised by the environmental groups, as to whether there should be something in the Constitution which would relate to the environment. And that might be the way you connect back to the issue you're talking about, Yvonne. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Again, Sheila, please.
Just in relation to the actual structure or the model of this convention, it seems to be a very successful model of the way it operates and how it gets results, and it has a beginning, middle and end to it. And I would like to congratulate Secretariat in relation to that. But in terms of future conventions and future uses for it, I would like to concur with what Ivana said, in that it should, whatever business is conducted, it should be used as a model for something that's relevant and timely in the future of that time, because you wouldn't like to think that it just became another semi-institution.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Yeah. All right.
Just on that particular point, Sheila, I think it's very valuable, and I think it's very obvious that during the course of the year, we learned an awful lot from each meeting. So we learned something new at a meeting, we try and implement changes to following one, etc. So I would be very interested between now and the next meeting if people would let me know what they felt worked well, and more importantly, what they feel should be different about a new convention. I mean, if there are gaps and issues that you think should be changed for a new model, I'd be very interested in hearing it. And we'll gather up all of the suggested changes, and maybe we'll have a conversation about that as well, about the future, because there's no point in having 170 people in the room right now unless we learn from each other in relation to what it is that you feel works and not.
Yeah, I think that's a very valuable comment, and so I think, because not everybody is going to either have the inclination or we don't have the time to stand up here in the next 20 minutes with ideas on that, but a number of people might wish to communicate directly with the Secretariat on that, on precisely what Arta said. Tom, given that.
Thanks, Tom. Tom Burke. On the issue of future conventions, we've had 30 amendments to the Constitution already. There are another 3 promised as a result of the work of this convention, possibly more to follow. The turnout at the last 3 referenda has been absolutely diabolical. Possibly the first subject we should be looking at in a future convention is whether or not we need to throw out the existing constitution and come in with one that, and true Democrats mightn't like this, but that doesn't require a referendum for every constitutional change. There is the other democratic way: let politicians put their neck on the block, let them vote and take the consequences one way or the other in the next election. But I think it's a subject that could maybe last for 2 weekends rather than one. Should we get rid of the existing constitution and replace it with something more concise? Thank you.
Okay. I mean, obviously that is a point of view that some people had, but so Terry, please. Yeah.
Hello, Terry Cormican, citizen member. My comment is just regarding the referenda, that the last few referenda there has been extraneous circumstances that I think caused the referenda turnout to be low, such as the content of the paper, sorry, not the content, but the way perhaps the paper was worded, made people a little hesitant perhaps to turn out. I think that the multiple referendums, perhaps on a single day in a year, that and a day that's picked of a weekend so that students and others can attend, is a good thing, and it shouldn't be overlooked. That's point one. On a totally different point, just in relation to a comment that Tom made earlier, in that should some of the issues take 2 or 3 weekends, be extended out, I would be a little hesitant, speaking for myself only, but I'm sure there's others in this room of a similar vein, that yes, I did some preparation for this weekend, but with the Friday night training and everything, I feel capable of making realistic decisions this weekend. But going at something in more depth, I'm not sure I would be willing or capable of do. I think I would rather leave that to the experts in government and local office to handle those nuts and bolt details. I think it's nice to just be the manager of the reform or whatever we're looking for and leave the nuts and bolts to the experts. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's a lot of legitimacy there, because clearly when you get down to teasing out even the implications of some of the recommendations we've made and try to put legal texts on them, etc., or even find the wording for a referendum which would reflect a wish expressed by this convention, you're into complexity and difficulty. So there are limits to what a convention can do. Okay. Any other comments? Because the voting is going to take, is still in train, but the results are not going to be available for a while. I mean, if that's the case, if there are no further comments, we could suspend the convention for, I don't know, till 1:15. People could have lunch, and well, they'll hardly have lunch over by 1:15, I think, will they? Half an hour. But we will have the voting, the results at a 1:15. So you're free until 1:15, or 20 minutes. 20 minutes, okay? So maybe 1 o'clock, essentially. Yeah. We 1 o'clock. So we're free till 1 o'clock, and we resume for the conclusion. Thank you. Thank you.